First contact and galactic turmoil. The stars had always called to humanity, their distant light a beacon of hope and possibility. For centuries, mankind had dreamed of reaching out beyond the confines of Earth, wondering if they were alone in the vast expanse of the cosmos. In the year 2157, that question was finally answered. Dr. Ilara Chen stood at the helm of the United Earth exploration vessel Horizon, her heart racing as the ship's sensors picked up an anomalous signal. The crew, a diverse mix of the brightest minds Earth had to offer, buzzed with excitement and trepidation. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Raj Patel from his station, "the signal's origin has been pinpointed. It's not natural. We're detecting artificial structures on the third planet of this system." Ilara took a deep breath, steadying herself. This was it. First contact. The moment humanity had been preparing for since they first looked up at the night sky. "All hands, this is the captain speaking. Prepare for first contact protocols. Let's make history." As the Horizon approached the alien world, the crew marveled at the sight before them. Gleaming cities dotted the planet's surface, connected by ribbons of light that crisscrossed the landscape. Vessels of various shapes and sizes darted through the atmosphere and beyond, their designs unlike anything humanity had ever conceived. The alien civilization called themselves the Zarkoni, a species as old as Earth itself but far more advanced. Their greeting was cautious but curious, a mix of wariness and wonder at encountering a new spacefaring race. High Commander Vexlor, the Zarkoni leader assigned to interface with the humans, regarded Captain Chen with multiple sets of compound eyes. "Your arrival is unexpected." The alien's words came through the translation matrix. Few races achieve faster than light travel so quickly after discovering atomic energy. "You are an anomaly." Ilara stood tall, her posture a mix of respect and pride. "Humanity has always been driven to explore, to push boundaries. We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge." The initial meeting between humans and Zarkoni set the stage for a rapid integration of Earth into the galactic community. As news of humanity's emergence spread, other alien civilizations took notice. The Ilorians, a species of energy beings known for their diplomatic prowess, extended invitations to Earth's representatives. The Vertali, master traders with influence spanning multiple sectors, began to calculate the potential profits and risks this new player might bring. Back on Earth, the revelation of alien life sent shockwaves through society. Governments scrambled to adapt, religions grappled with the implications, and the scientific community worked tirelessly to understand and incorporate the advanced technologies now within reach. Dr. Aiden Takahashi, lead scientist at the newly established Xenotechnology Integration Division, pored over schematics of Zarkoni quantum computers. "It's like we've been writing with stone tablets, and they've handed us a supercomputer," he mused to his colleague, Dr. Fatima Al-Rashid. Fatima nodded, her eyes never leaving the holographic display of a Vertali gravitational manipulator. "And yet, look here," she pointed to a particular configuration. "They've never considered using the field harmonics in this way. We might be behind in some areas, but our fresh perspective is already yielding new applications." As humanity's understanding of galactic technologies grew, so did their ability to innovate upon them. Earth's shipyards, once limited to constructing vessels for intrasystem travel, now churned out ships that could traverse the galaxy in days. Human-designed hybrid technologies, combining elements from multiple alien sources, began to rival those of species with millennia of spacefaring experience. This rapid advancement, however, did not go unnoticed or unchallenged. In the grand halls of the Zarkoni Imperial Palace, Emperor Zexkron raged at his advisors. "These humans are a threat to the natural order. They must be contained before they upset the balance of power we've maintained for centuries." Meanwhile, in the crystalline chambers of the Ilorian consensus, debates rage. Many saw humans as kindred spirits, a young species full of potential. Others feared the disruption they'd brought to the galactic stage. Arch-mediator Lyra, her form shimmering with barely contained energy, addressed the assembly. We must guide these humans, temper their ambition with wisdom. Together, we could forge a brighter future for all. The Vertali High Council, meeting in their labyrinthine trading hub, saw opportunity in the chaos. High Merchant Zixera, her tentacles writhing with excitement, proposed, "Let the Zarkoni and humans bloody each other. We'll profit from both sides and emerge stronger." As tensions rose, humanity found itself thrust into the complex web of galactic politics. Earth's leaders knew they were outmatched in terms of territory and experience, but they were determined to secure humanity's place among the stars. In a bold move, the United Earth Council authorized the establishment of a series of fortified colonies along the borders of human space. These colonies, equipped with reverse-engineered alien defenses and hybrid human innovations, served as a clear message: humanity would not be easily cowed or conquered. Admiral Marcus Santos stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, the most advanced warship in Earth's growing fleet. As he gazed at the stellar map showing humanity's expanding sphere of influence, he couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and concern. "We've come so far, so fast," he mused to his XO, Commander Yuki Tanaka. "But I fear we're headed for a confrontation we might not be ready for." Tanaka nodded grimly. "Intelligence suggests the Zarkoni have been moving their fleets. Admiral, they're preparing for a show of force." Santos' jaw tightened. "Then we'll be ready to show them some force of our own." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the ship. Multiple contacts dropping out of FTL. The sensor officer shouted, "Zarkoni signatures, sir." A massive Zarkoni battle fleet materialized in the space before them, dwarfing the human defensive line. Admiral Santos straightened his uniform, his voice calm as he addressed his crew. "All hands, battle stations. Let's show the galaxy what humanity is made of." The tension that had been building since humanity's arrival on the galactic stage was about to break. As the human and Zarkoni fleets faced off in the silent void of space, the fate of Earth and its colonies hung in the balance. The galaxy held its breath, watching to see how these upstart humans would fare against one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in known space. Little did any of them know that this confrontation was merely the opening act of a much larger, more terrible drama that was about to unfold. One that would force old enemies to become allies and test the very limits of sentient life in the Milky Way. As humanity prepared to fight for its place in the cosmos, an ancient threat stirred in the dark spaces between the stars, one that would soon make the squabbles of younger races seem insignificant in comparison. The galaxy trembled, for the age of humanity had begun. And with it, a new chapter in cosmic history was about to be written. Human ingenuity unleashed. The standoff between the human and Zarkoni fleets lasted for weeks, a tense tableau against the backdrop of distant stars. On Earth and its colonies, humanity held its collective breath, waiting for the spark that would ignite an interstellar war. But it was during this precarious moment that humanity's true strength began to shine. Admiral Santos, aboard the UES Defiant, knew that a direct confrontation with the technologically superior Zarkoni would be disastrous. Instead, he turned to an unlikely source of inspiration: Earth's ancient naval warfare strategies. "Commander Tanaka," Santos called, his eyes never leaving the holographic display of the two fleets. "What do you know about the Battle of Salamis?" Tanaka furrowed her brow. "Ancient Greek history, sir. The outnumbered Greeks defeated the Persian fleet by luring them into narrow straits." Santos nodded, a glimmer in his eye. "Exactly. We're outgunned, but we're not outthought. Get me the science team." Over the next few days, human scientists and strategists worked feverishly, combining their knowledge of local space phenomena with reverse-engineered Zarkoni technology. Dr. Ilara Chen, now serving as the lead scientist aboard the Defiant, presented their findings to the Admiral. "We've identified a nearby pulsar, sir," she explained, pointing to a rapidly spinning star on the map. Its gravitational waves create complex distortions in local spacetime. If we can lure the Zarkoni fleet here, Santos finished her thought, we can use the distortions to our advantage. Brilliant, Doctor. Let's set the trap. The human fleet began a series of seemingly erratic maneuvers, feigning weakness and disorganization. The Zarkoni, their rigid military doctrine, unable to comprehend the apparent chaos, took the bait. As they pursued the retreating human ships, they found themselves drawn into a region of space where their sophisticated sensors began to falter. Suddenly, the human fleet's formation snapped into perfect order. Ships that had appeared to be fleeing now executed precise, coordinated attacks. The Zarkoni, their formations disrupted by the gravitational distortions, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. Now, Santos commanded, and the Defiant unleashed a barrage of hybrid weapons, combining human missile technology with Elorian energy manipulators. The result was devastating, tearing through Zarkoni shields as if they were paper. The Battle of Pulsar's Edge, as it would come to be known, ended in a decisive human victory. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the upstart humans defeated a force that by all conventional metrics should have annihilated them. In the aftermath, the political landscape of the galaxy shifted dramatically. The Zarkoni, their air of invincibility shattered, were forced to the negotiating table. The Elorians, impressed by human adaptability, deepened their alliance. Even the Vertali, ever opportunistic, began to see humans as valuable potential partners rather than naive newcomers to exploit. But it wasn't just in military matters that human ingenuity shone. On Mars, now the center of human scientific advancement, breakthroughs were happening at an unprecedented rate. Dr. Aiden Takahashi and his team had taken the quantum computing principles of the Zarkoni and pushed them in directions the aliens had never considered. It's like they got stuck in a rut of thinking. Aiden explained to a group of wide-eyed interns. They've been improving the same basic design for millennia, but by combining their quantum principles with our understanding of neural networks. He gestured to a device that looked like a shimmering crystal lattice suspended in a magnetic field. We've created an AI that can interface directly with the quantum realm. The possibilities are endless. Indeed, the new quantum AI systems revolutionized everything from space travel to medical research. Human ships, guided by these hyper-intelligent systems, could now plot FTL jumps with unprecedented accuracy, opening up regions of space previously thought unreachable. In the medical field, Dr. Fatima Al-Rashid led a team that combined the bioengineering techniques of the Vertali with human stem cell research. The result was a breakthrough in regenerative medicine that could regrow entire limbs and organs. We're not just copying alien tech, Fatima told reporters at a press conference that was broadcast across human space. We're innovating, finding applications these species never considered. It's our fresh perspective, our ability to think outside established norms, that's driving this progress. This wave of innovation didn't go unnoticed by the galactic community. Many alien species, particularly the younger ones, began to look to humanity as a source of inspiration. Human universities saw an influx of alien students eager to learn not just human technology, but human ways of thinking. However, not everyone was pleased with humanity's rapid rise. In the shadows of the galactic fringe, whispers began to circulate of an ancient power stirring, one that saw the dynamic young human race as a threat to the established order of things. On a distant world, far from the bright center of the galaxy, an archaeological team made a discovery that would change everything. Dr. Zara Vega, a human xenorchaeologist working alongside Elorian and Vertali colleagues, brushed dust from an artifact that pulsed with an eerie light. "This writing," she murmured, her translator struggling with the ancient script, "it speaks of a race of harvesters. No, that's not quite right. Reapers, a synthetic species that sees organic life as." Before she could finish, the artifact flared to life, emitting a pulse of energy that knocked the team off their feet. As they struggled to regain their senses, a holographic image flickered into existence above the artifact. It showed a massive machine, part ship, part creature, descending upon a planet. The scene that followed was one of devastation and horror. The message that accompanied the vision was clear and chilling. The cycle begins anew. All that you know will be harvested. Resistance is futile. As the hologram faded, leaving the team in stunned silence, alarms began to blare from their ships in orbit. Something massive was emerging from the depths of space, heading towards the populated regions of the galaxy. Dr. Vega looked at her alien colleagues, seeing the same mix of fear and determination in their eyes that she felt. "We need to warn everyone," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "The galaxy needs to unite, or we'll all fall separately." As the warning raced across subspace channels, humanity found itself facing a threat beyond anything they had encountered. The squabbles between species that had seemed so important mere days ago now felt trivial in comparison. Admiral Santos, upon receiving the report, set his jaw in grim determination. "Send word to all human colonies and our alien allies," he ordered. "We didn't come this far to be harvested by some ancient machines. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity does best, overcoming impossible odds." As ships of all species began to mobilize, forming the greatest fleet the galaxy had ever seen, humanity prepared to face its greatest challenge yet. The ingenuity and adaptability that had brought them so far in such a short time would now be put to the ultimate test. The battle for the very survival of organic life in the Milky Way was about to begin, and humanity was ready to lead the charge. The cosmic threat emerges. The warning from Dr. Zora Vega's team spread across the galaxy like wildfire, igniting fear and disbelief in equal measure. Many dismissed it as a hoax or a misunderstanding, but those who had seen the evidence knew the truth. An ancient, implacable enemy was awakening, and the galaxy was woefully unprepared. Admiral Santos stood before the hastily assembled Galactic Defense Council, a mix of human and alien leaders brought together by the looming crisis. The holographic displays showed a sea of worried faces from a dozen different species. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored representatives," Santos began, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "The threat we face is unlike anything our civilizations have encountered. These harvesters, as we're calling them, have technology far beyond our own and a single-minded purpose: the eradication of all advanced organic life." Murmurs of disbelief and fear rippled through the assembly. A Zarkoni representative, his multiple eyes blinking rapidly, spoke up. "Surely this is an exaggeration. No force could threaten the combined might of our civilizations." Dr. Ilara Chen stepped forward, her hologram flickering slightly as she addressed the council from her research station on Mars. "I wish it were so, but the evidence is irrefutable. We've decrypted more of the artifact's data. These harvesters have been culling advanced organic life in our galaxy for millions of years. They retreat to dark space, waiting for civilizations to reach a certain technological threshold. Then they return to harvest." The silence that followed was deafening. It was the Elorian arch-mediator Lyra who finally broke it, her ethereal form pulsing with concern. "If this is true, then we must set aside our differences. Only united do we stand a chance." As if to punctuate her words, alarms blared across every ship and station in the assembly. A Vertali sensor operator's panicked voice cut through the chaos. "Massive objects detected entering the galaxy. They're everywhere." The holographic display shifted, showing the galaxy map. Hundreds, perhaps thousands, of massive signatures were appearing, moving with impossible speed towards populated systems. The harvest had begun. In the days that followed, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Entire colonies falling silent, fleets of ships vanishing without a trace. The harvesters, massive biomechanical monstrosities that defied conventional understanding, swept through system after system with ruthless efficiency. Humanity, despite its relative inexperience on the galactic stage, found itself thrust into a leadership role. The ingenuity and adaptability that had marked their meteoric rise now became the cornerstone of the galaxy's resistance. On Earth, every factory and laboratory was repurposed for the war effort. Dr. Aiden Takahashi led a team working to adapt their quantum AI systems to counter harvester technology. Their ships seemed to use some form of quantum entanglement for communication. He explained to a group of multi-species scientists, "If we can disrupt that, we might have a chance of confusing their coordinated attacks." Meanwhile, Dr. Fatima al-Rashid's breakthroughs in regenerative medicine were being applied to create new forms of biomechanical interfaces, allowing pilots to link more directly with their ships and enhancing their reaction times to superhuman levels. In space, Admiral Santos coordinated a desperate holding action. Human tactics, which had so recently confounded the Zarkoni, were now being employed on a galactic scale. The combined fleet used hit-and-run attacks, guerrilla warfare adapted for the vast emptiness of space. During one particularly fierce engagement in the Orion Spur, a group of human corvettes, piloted by crews neurally linked to their ships, managed to take down a harvester capital ship. The victory, while small in the grand scheme of the war, proved that the enemy could be hurt. As the footage of the burning harvester hulk spread across the galaxy, it became a rallying point. Species that had been on the verge of giving up found new hope. The Zarkoni, setting aside millennia of rigid military doctrine, began to adopt human-inspired tactics. Vertali merchant ships were refitted into nimble, unconventional warships. Ilorian energy beings volunteered to inhabit specially designed vessels, becoming living weapons in the fight against the synthetic threat. But for every victory, there were painful losses. Entire systems fell, their populations presumably processed into the grotesque biomechanical constructs that served the harvesters. The enemy seemed to have an endless supply of ships and troops, each loss replaced almost immediately. Dr. Zara Vega, now heading a multi-species team dedicated to understanding the harvester threat, made a chilling discovery. "They're not just killing us," she reported to the Galactic Defense Council. "They're preserving us. Each harvester ship contains the distilled essence of an entire species. They see it as a twisted form of conservation." The revelation sent shockwaves through the Allied forces. The horror of the harvester's true nature was almost too much to bear. But it also steeled their resolve. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a fight for the very essence of organic life and free will. As the war ground on, pushing the Allied species to the brink of extinction, a pattern began to emerge. The harvesters, for all their advanced technology, were predictable. They followed set patterns, unable or unwilling to adapt to the chaotic, ever-changing tactics of the Organic Alliance. It was a human analyst, Lieutenant Maria Suarez, who first noticed the pattern. Working with the quantum AI systems developed by Dr. Takahashi, she began to see a larger strategy in the harvesters' movements. "They're hurting us," she realized with growing horror. "All these attacks, they're not random. They're pushing us towards something." As Maria's discovery was verified and analyzed, a grim picture emerged. The harvesters were indeed hurting the galaxy's populations, driving them towards a massive structure hidden in dark space. Ancient records, pieced together from a dozen different species, hinted at its purpose: a giant processing station, capable of harvesting entire species en masse. The Allies now faced an impossible choice: continue their losing battle of attrition, or risk everything on a desperate gambit to strike at the heart of the harvester threat. Admiral Santos, his face lined with exhaustion and determination, addressed the Galactic Defense Council once more. "We've identified the location of the harvester's central processing station," he said, his voice grave. "It's well defended, possibly a suicide mission. But it might be our only chance to end this war." The council chamber erupted into debate. Many argued that it was too risky, that committing their remaining forces to such an attack would leave their home worlds defenseless. Others saw it as their last, best hope for survival. In the end, it was an unlikely voice that tipped the scales. A young Zarkoni officer, inspired by human history, quoted an ancient Earth general, "We must all hang together, or assuredly we shall all hang separately." The decision was made. The Allied fleet would gather its remaining strength for one final desperate assault on the Harvester's stronghold. As ships from every corner of the galaxy began to assemble, there was a palpable sense that this would be the defining moment not just for humanity, but for all sentient life in the Milky Way. As preparations for the final battle began, Dr. Ilara Chen made a startling breakthrough. Studying the quantum signatures of Harvester technology, she discovered a potential weakness. Their entire network is interconnected, she explained to the War Council. If we can introduce a specific quantum fluctuation at the heart of their processing station, we might be able to create a cascading failure across their entire fleet. It was a slim hope, but it was all they had. As the combined fleet of the galaxy's survivors prepared to jump into what might be their final battle, Admiral Santos addressed the assembled crews. His words were broadcast across every ship, in every language. "We stand at the precipice," he began, his voice steady and resolute. "Before us lies the greatest threat our galaxy has ever faced. But look around you. Every ship, every crew member represents the best of what our civilizations have to offer. Human ingenuity, Zarkoni discipline, Elorian wisdom, Vertali adaptability. Together, we are stronger than any force in the universe. Today, we fight not just for our own survival, but for the right of all organic life to exist freely, to grow, to evolve. The Harvesters think us chaotic, unpredictable. Today, we prove them right. Today, we show them that the spirit of organic life cannot be harvested, cannot be contained. Together, we will write a new future for our galaxy." Cheer went up across the fleet, a united voice of defiance against the cosmic horror that awaited them. As the ships prepared to jump, there was a sense of unity unlike anything the galaxy had ever known. Whatever the outcome, this would be their finest hour. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance as the fleet engaged their FTL drives, hurtling towards a confrontation that would determine the future of all organic life in the Milky Way. Forging alliances in the face of extinction, the combined fleet of the galaxy's survivors dropped out of FTL on the edge of a vast, empty region of space. Before them loomed the Harvester's central processing station, a colossal structure that defied comprehension. It was a grotesque fusion of organic and mechanical components, pulsing with an otherworldly energy that seemed to distort the very fabric of space-time around it. Admiral Santos stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, his face grim as he surveyed the enemy forces arrayed against them. Thousands of Harvester ships formed a defensive screen around the station, their biomechanical forms a stark contrast to the varied designs of the Allied fleet. "All ships, report in," Santos ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. One by one, the leaders of each species' forces confirmed their readiness. The Zarkoni battle cruisers, their sleek forms bristling with weaponry. The Vertali's unconventional merchant ships, now outfitted with experimental weapons. The Elorian energy vessels, glowing with barely contained power. And at the heart of it all, the human fleet, a mix of cutting-edge technology and desperate innovation. Dr. Ilara Chen's voice came through the calm, tense but determined. "Admiral, the quantum fluctuation device is ready. We'll only get one shot at this. We need to get it to the core of that station." Santos nodded, knowing the immense risk they were about to undertake. "Understood, Doctor. All ships, prepare to execute Operation Lightbringer." The plan was audacious, relying on the combined strengths of each species. The Zarkoni would lead the frontal assault, their disciplined formations drawing the bulk of the Harvester's attention. The Vertali ships, with their unparalleled maneuverability, would run interference, creating chaos in the enemy ranks. The Elorians would provide cover, their energy-based weapons particularly effective against the Harvester's shields. And at the center of it all, a small strike team led by humans would make a desperate push for the heart of the station. Their mission: to deliver Dr. Chen's quantum device and trigger a cascading failure that could end the Harvester threat once and for all. As the Allied fleet surged forward, the space around them erupted into chaos. Energy beams crisscrossed the void, missiles streaked across the battlefield, and ships on both sides began to fall. The Harvesters, for all their technological superiority, seemed caught off guard by the ferocity and coordination of the attack. On the bridge of a Zarkoni battlecruiser, Commander Vexilor watched in awe as a squadron of human fighters executed a maneuver that should have been impossible, slipping through a gap in the Harvester formation to deliver a crippling blow to one of their capital ships. Perhaps, he mused to his second-in-command, we have more to learn from these humans than we thought. Meanwhile, aboard a Vertali frigate, Captain Zixara's tentacles danced across her control interface, guiding her ship through a series of wild evasive maneuvers. Who would have thought, she chittered to her crew, that our skills at evading trade regulations would serve us so well in battle? The Ilorian vessels, their forms more energy than matter, phased in and out of normal space, appearing seemingly out of nowhere to unleash devastating attacks before vanishing again. Arch-Mediator Lyra, leading the Ilorian contingent, found herself marveling at the unity of purpose that had brought such disparate species together. At the heart of the battle, the UES Defiant led a small group of ships on a desperate run towards the Harvester station. Admiral Santos watched the tactical display, making split-second decisions that meant the difference between life and death for countless beings. Evasive Pattern Delta, he ordered as a swarm of Harvester fighters bore down on them. The Defiant rolled and juked, its movements guided by the neural interface Dr. Al-Rashid had developed. Santos felt the ship as if it were an extension of his own body, reacting with inhuman speed to every threat. As they neared the station, a massive energy beam lanced out, catching one of the escort ships. The vessel exploded in a silent flare of light, a stark reminder of the stakes they faced. "We're not going to make it through their defenses," Commander Tanaka said, her voice tight with tension. Santos' mind raced, considering and discarding options in microseconds. Then, an idea struck him. Crazy, desperate, but just maybe crazy enough to work. All ships, this is Admiral Santos. Execute Maneuver Orpheus. Across the fleet, there were moments of confusion followed by dawning realization. Maneuver Orpheus was a theoretical tactic, never before attempted in actual combat. It involved using the quantum entanglement properties of their FTL drives to create a temporary wormhole, a shortcut through the very fabric of space-time. Dr. Chen's voice crackled over the comm, a mix of awe and concern. "Admiral, the stress on our ship's systems will be enormous. We might not survive the jump." "We might not survive if we don't try," Santos replied. "All ships, on my mark. 3, 2, 1, execute." For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, reality itself seemed to twist and bend around the Defiant and its escorts. There was a sensation of falling, of being stretched and compressed simultaneously, and then they were through, emerging directly above the surface of the Harvester station, bypassing its outer defenses entirely. The Harvester ships, caught completely off guard, scrambled to respond to this impossible maneuver. "All ships, launch assault pods now," Santos ordered. Across the small battle group, pods were ejected, each carrying a team of elite soldiers from every allied species. Among them was Dr. Zara Vega, clutching the quantum fluctuation device that represented their last, best hope. As the pods streaked towards the station's surface, the battle raged on around them. The Allied main fleet, seeing the success of the Orpheus maneuver, pressed their attack with renewed vigor. Species that had been bitter enemies mere months ago now fought side by side, covering each other's weaknesses and amplifying their strengths. Aboard the Harvester station, the strike team fought their way through twisting, organic corridors that pulsed with an alien life of their own. Dr. Vega, her xenorchiology background proving unexpectedly useful, helped guide them through the maze-like structure. "The architecture," she explained as they paused to regroup, "it's not random. There's a logic to it, based on the fragments we decoded. The core should be this way. As they pushed deeper into the station, they encountered increasing resistance. The harvesters, aware of the threat, threw everything they had at the intruders. It was only through the combined skills of the multi-species team, human adaptability, Zarkoni discipline, Vertali cunning, and Elorian insight, that they were able to overcome each obstacle. Finally, they reached the core, a vast chamber housing a pulsing, crystalline structure that seemed to bridge the gap between organic and machine. Dr. Vega approached it, the quantum device humming in her hands. "This is it," she said, her voice filled with a mix of awe and determination. "Once we activate this, there's no going back. It could destroy the harvesters, or it could tear a hole in the fabric of space-time itself." A Zarkoni soldier, his armor scarred from the battles they'd fought to reach this point, placed a multi-fingered hand on her shoulder. "Whatever happens, we face it together. For the future of all our peoples." With a nod, Dr. Vega activated the device. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, a wave of energy unlike anything they had ever seen before burst forth from the core, racing outward at impossible speeds. Aboard the Defiant, alarms blared as sensors struggled to make sense of what they were detecting. "Admiral," Tanaka reported, her voice filled with disbelief. "The quantum cascade. It's working. Harvester ships are going dark all across the battlefield." Santos watched in awe as harvester after harvester fell silent, their biomechanical forms going limp in space. The station itself began to shake, great fissures appearing in its structure as the quantum disruption tore it apart from the inside. "All ships, this is Admiral Santos. Initiate emergency extraction of the strike team and prepare for immediate withdrawal. We've done it. We've won." As the Allied fleet began to pull back, gathering up the assault pods and stragglers, there was a sense of disbelief. Had they really done it? Had they actually defeated an enemy that had culled advanced life in the galaxy for millions of years? But as the last of the harvester ships flickered and died, the truth sank in. Against all odds, through unity and determination, they had emerged victorious. As the fleet jumped to safety, leaving the collapsing harvester station behind, a cheer went up across every ship. It started small, a few voices here and there, but soon swelled into a thunderous roar that seemed to shake the very stars. Humanity, the newcomers to the galactic stage, had led the charge against an unimaginable threat. And in doing so, they had not only secured their own place among the stars, but had forged alliances that would reshape the face of the galaxy for millennia to come. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Admiral Santos looked out at the assembled fleet, a motley collection of ships from dozens of species, all of whom had fought and bled together. He realized that this victory was more than just the defeat of the harvesters. It was the birth of something new, something greater than any single civilization. The galaxy had been forever changed, and humanity had played a pivotal role in that change. The future, with all its challenges and opportunities, awaited them all. Humanity's finest hour. The days following the destruction of the Harvester Processing Station were filled with a mixture of jubilation and disbelief. Across the galaxy, species that had been on the brink of extinction began to emerge from hiding, their eyes turned to the stars with hope rather than fear for the first time in recent memory. On Earth, crowds filled the streets of every major city, celebrations erupting spontaneously as news of the victory spread. Similar scenes played out on countless worlds across the galaxy, each in their own unique way. The Zarkoni's usually rigid society loosened, with impromptu festivals breaking out in their normally austere cities. Vertali trading hubs became centers of raucous parties, with profits forgotten in favor of pure joy. On Elorian worlds, the very atmosphere seemed to shimmer with the collective elation of their energy-based populace. But amid the celebrations, the leaders of the Alliance knew that their work was far from over. Admiral Santos found himself at the center of a whirlwind of activity, coordinating cleanup efforts and helping to establish a new galactic order. In the newly christened Unity Station, a massive space habitat hastily constructed in neutral territory, representatives from every allied species gathered to chart the course forward. The station's design was a testament to the new spirit of cooperation, incorporating architectural elements from each major civilization. Dr. Ilara Chen, now hailed as one of the heroes of the war, addressed the assembly. "The defeat of the Harvesters marks not an end, but a beginning," she said, her hologram flickering slightly as it was broadcast to billions across the galaxy. "We've proven that together, we can overcome any obstacle. Now we must use that same spirit of cooperation to rebuild and grow." The challenges were immense. Entire worlds lay in ruins, their populations decimated. The harvester technology, now inert, posed both opportunity and danger. And there was always the lurking fear: what if there were more harvesters out there, beyond the edges of the galaxy? But where once these problems might have led to conflict and division, now they became rallying points for cooperation. Task forces were formed, combining the strengths of multiple species to tackle the most pressing issues. Dr. Aiden Takahashi led a multi-species team in studying the remnants of harvester technology. "We're not just reverse engineering," he explained to a group of eager young scientists from a dozen different worlds. "We're reimagining, taking their tech and filtering it through our combined perspectives to create something entirely new." Their work led to breakthroughs in fields ranging from energy production to medicine. Planets that had been stripped bare by the harvesters were slowly brought back to life using a combination of Vertali terraforming techniques, Elorian energy manipulation, and human-inspired ecological management. Dr. Fatima Al-Rashid's regenerative medicine techniques, combined with insights gained from harvester biotechnology, led to therapies that could heal injuries once thought permanent. Across the galaxy, the quality of life for countless beings improved dramatically. But perhaps the most profound changes were cultural. The unity forged in the heat of battle didn't fade with peace. Instead, it deepened and evolved. Interspecies cultural exchanges became common, with art, music, and ideas flowing freely between worlds that had once been isolated or hostile. Humanity, despite its youth on the galactic stage, found itself in a unique position. Their adaptability and fresh perspective made them natural intermediaries between older, more established species. Human diplomats, scientists, and artists were in high demand across the galaxy, their unique insights helping to bridge gaps and forge new connections. Admiral Santos, watching a group of cadets from a dozen different species training together on Unity Station, reflected on how far they had come. "You know," he said to Commander Tanaka, who had become his most trusted advisor, "when we first reached the stars, I worried that we might lose what made us human in the vastness of the galaxy. Instead, we found that our humanity is our greatest strength." Tanaka nodded, a smile playing on her lips. "And in sharing it, we've helped other species rediscover parts of themselves they'd forgotten." As the years passed, the galaxy entered a new golden age. The threat of the harvesters had forced a level of cooperation unprecedented in galactic history, and with that threat removed, that cooperative spirit was channeled into exploration and discovery. Joint research projects pushed the boundaries of science and technology. The quantum AI systems developed during the war were refined and expanded, creating a galactic network that allowed for near-instantaneous communication and data sharing across vast distances. Exploration ships, crewed by members of multiple species, pushed out into the dark spaces between galaxies, seeking to extend the reach of their newfound civilization and to stand guard against any future threats that might lurk in the cosmic deep. On the 10th anniversary of the Harvester's defeat, a grand ceremony was held on Unity Station. Representatives from every allied species gathered to unveil a monument, a massive holographic sculpture that depicted members of each race standing together, facing outward as if to meet the future head-on. Dr. Zara Vega, who had become something of a galactic historian, recording the events of the war and its aftermath, gave the keynote address. "A decade ago, We stood on the brink of extinction. She began, her voice carrying to every corner of the packed assembly hall and beyond, to countless worlds where billions watched the broadcast. We faced an enemy that believed organic life to be chaotic, unpredictable, and therefore dangerous. They sought to impose their own twisted order on the galaxy, but in doing so, they inadvertently proved the very strength of what they sought to destroy. She gestured to the assembled crowd, her eyes shining with emotion. Look around you. See the diversity, the vibrancy, the sheer creative energy that exists when different species come together. This is what the harvesters could never understand, and it is what ultimately defeated them. Humanity, she continued, played a crucial role in our victory, not because we were stronger or more advanced, but because we were new. We looked at old problems with fresh eyes. We dared to question established norms. And in doing so, we helped remind the galaxy of its own capacity for growth and change. But our true strength, the power that defeated the harvesters, and that will carry us forward into the future, lies not in any one species. It lies in our unity, in our ability to take our differences and forge them into strength, in our willingness to stand together, not in spite of our diversity, but because of it. As Vega's words rang out, there was a palpable sense of pride and purpose in the air. The beings gathered there, and those watching from across the galaxy, felt a renewed commitment to the principles that had carried them through their darkest hour. The ceremony concluded with a symbolic gesture. Representatives from each species approached the monument, placing their hands, or equivalent appendages, on its base. As they did, the holographic figures came to life, their light spreading outward in a dazzling display that lit up the station and could be seen from space, a beacon of unity shining out into the cosmos. As the crowds began to disperse, Admiral Santos found himself standing next to Arch-Mediator Lyra, the Elorian leader who had been one of the first to champion cooperation with humanity. "You know," Lyra said, her form shimmering with gentle light, "when your species first arrived on the galactic stage, many of us feared you would bring chaos and conflict. We never imagined you would be the catalyst for the greatest peace our galaxy has ever known." Santos smiled, looking out at the stars visible through the station's massive viewport. "We're explorers at heart," he replied. "We came seeking new frontiers, new challenges. We found them, just not in the way we expected." As they stood there, watching ships of all shapes and sizes coming and going from the station, both leaders felt a sense of profound optimism. The galaxy faced challenges, yes, but they would face them together. And with the combined strength, wisdom, and creativity of 100 species working in harmony, there was no obstacle they couldn't overcome. The age of isolation and conflict was over. A new era of galactic cooperation had begun, with humanity proud to play its part in the grand tapestry of cosmic civilization. The future, vast and bright, beckoned to them all.